One thing that I've noticed in all successful people is that they don't depend on motivation or inspiration to get their work done, whether it be studying, creative work, or just about anything. Like a great writer once said, I only write when inspiration strikes. But fortunately, inspiration strikes at 9 a.m. sharp every day. In this video, we'll look at ways we can hack motivation and train ourselves to study or work even when we don't really want to. Hey there, lovely person watching YouTube. If you're new here, hi, my name is Ajay. I'm a doctor from Bangalore, India. If you're already subscribed, welcome back. I love you to the stars and back. Have you seen how 3-year-old kids behave? They do whatever they want. Infants and young children are hedonistic in nature. That is, they want to do only those things that make them feel happy, and they avoid everything that doesn't make them feel happy or feel good. Basically, they do everything they're motivated to do and avoid everything that they have no motivation for. This is not something I'm pulling out of thin air. This is what psychology says. And even if you just observe 1 to 3-year-old kids, you'll notice how true this is. Depending on motivation is kind of like being a 3-year-old, but in an adult body. Motivation is fleeting. Have you not had those moments where, you're really motivated, really excited to watch a movie, and then you get a call from one of your friends or loved ones you really enjoy speaking to? Suddenly, your motivation to watch the movie goes up in thin air. And if you're a student, you would have noticed 1,000 times something similar happening. You're somehow motivated to study, or you make yourself really motivated to study. You watch people like Gary Vee or whoever motivates you. You sit to study, and at that time, your friend Bablu calls you asking if you want to play cricket or Call of Duty or whatever you guys like to play. Suddenly, all the motivation goes down the drain. We've all experienced this, right? So one of the main reasons why average and below average students fail to, make themselves sit and study is because they depend on this motivation. They're waiting and they're chasing this feeling of, being motivated to start working or to start studying. And sadly, most people don't get motivated on a regular basis. And we know that working or studying regularly is the key to success. If you pull off a spectacular 12-hour study session one day because you're really motivated, and then you don't study for the rest of the month, well, that's not really going to help us, would it? In comparison, if you look at really successful people, you'll notice that they don't depend on motivation. Instead, they make motivation work for them. So what do we do about this? We hack motivation and make it work for us. In other words, we find ways to make motivation come to us when we want it. If you want to learn how to do that, well, that's exactly what we'll be discussing in this video. So let's go. Point number 1, the way we've understood motivation is completely wrong. As Jeff Haden explains in his book, The Motivation Myth, the way we see and the way we've understood motivation is wrong. We see it as like, first we need motivation to do something, and that leads to action, and that leads to success. I'm sure this is how you currently think how motivation works. I mean, it does work in this way in certain situations. Imagine a soldier going to war and he listens to a highly motivated speech by his general. He'll be very motivated to go into war. Similarly, when our friends or our parents motivate us before an exam, we'll be really motivated to go and ace the exam. When you watch a motivational video on YouTube, you're really motivated for a day or two, and then you're back to normal again. Now, this kind of motivation is good for this once in a while kind of situations, but it starts becoming less and less effective if it's repeated again and again. Now, remember the first time you had a cup of coffee or tea? You were feeling so energetic, like you could get like 100 tasks done in an hour. Now, if you're used to drinking coffee and tea, you don't feel that way when you have it, do you? You just feel like, coffee, fine, makes me feel okay, let's carry on. My whole point is, if you see motivation as a requirement to do something or as a driving force to do something, it starts becoming less and less effective. So how does motivation actually work? It kind of works as a cycle. You have to see motivation not as a way to success, but motivation is the result of success. If that confused you, let me explain. Now, how motivation actually works is, imagine you don't have a motivation to do anything, but somehow you force yourself, you tell yourself, or you somehow have the discipline to sit and do that work. So that action leads to small success that success, that dopamine hit that you get with that small success, that makes you motivated, and that increases the actual real motivation, long lasting motivation. And that makes you take that action again. And that makes you get more success, a bigger success and a bigger dopamine hit. And that makes you more motivated. And that makes you work even better, do that action even more. And that gives you a better success. And the cycle goes on and on and on. This is why you see successful people become more and more successful, and non-successful people become less and less successful as the time passes. In relation to studying, let's say on day one, you want to study. You know that you have to study, you're interested, but you have zero motivation to actually sit and study. Instead of waiting for motivation to strike, which actually never strikes when we want to, just sit and start studying. You don't have to study crazy long hours or anything. Just 20-30 minutes is enough. When you feel like you have zero motivation to study, studying even for 20 minutes is a success. And the next day, you'll be motivated because of this success, and you can push yourself to study for 40 minutes. And the next day, you can study for 60 minutes, 80 minutes, 100 minutes, a couple of hours. This is how we should train our brain. And to show you the importance of small successes, let me give you my own example. Like I explained in one of my videos, in 11th and 12th grade, I was like this chill, have fun, play cricket, go out with friends, make use of the newfound freedom kind of a guy. I had zilch hopes of getting into medicine. Then I listened to a speech by a senior, which inspired me. And then I knew that I wanted to get into medicine, but I wasn't really motivated enough to put all that effort into studying for such long hours. I mean, I studied more than an average student would, but that was not enough to, get me into medicine, and that too into my sort of dream medical college. I wanted some small successes to boost me. So I put all of my efforts into studying for one single test, and I came third in my whole class. And my class was full of way smarter and way more hardworking people than me. So coming third in the class was a big success for me. So this success motivated me to study harder. I remember the very next week I went out and I bought a ton of books. And I started studying much more than before. Then in the next test, I think I got second or third again. That motivated me even further. And at the end, I ended up getting a good medical rank that I couldn't have probably dreamed about just a year before. Now, a short-term hack to do something when you just don't have the motivation to do it right away is to just tell yourself that you're going to do this task for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. And when you do it for 5 minutes and you have that small success, that small dopamine hit, you think, maybe this is not as difficult as I thought it would be. And there's a much more chance that you will actually continue with that task. Now, this works really well when you're lazy, but not so well when you're tired. When you're tired, you should probably just rest. Point number 2, motivation and inspiration should be seen as mental muscles. Let's call this guy Raju. Raju is a 20-year-old guy who has recently joined a gym. He goes to the gym and sees his classmate Ramu, who is absolutely jacked and absolutely hinged and can lift 150 kgs when Raju can barely lift 20 kgs. But here's the thing, Ramu and Raju are both humans, they're of the same age, they're classmates, same socioeconomic background. But why can Ramu do something that Raju can't? The answer here is obvious, right? It's because Ramu has been training for a very long time. And even though he's built and absolutely jacked, he still trains every day. That's how he continues to be strong and even improves, just like Terry Crews. Now, motivation and inspiration also work the same way. If you go to my med school reading room, or for that matter, any public reading room or public library, there'll be these people who study for crazy long hours. When I used to go to the reading room to study every day before all this pandemic and everything started, there would be these people preparing for NEET, PG or UPSC who would start studying at 8 a.m. every day and would study till 11 p.m. every day, and they do it day after day. And some of these people have been doing it for as long as 3 to 4 years. How do they do that? They're not super talented or anything. Trust me, some of them were even average or bad students previously. They've just trained their brains to be motivated at that same time, at the same place every day. And how did they do that? by starting small, by building momentum and doing it regularly. Our brain is just billions of neurons having trillions of neural connections. Everything you do, every memory you have, everything you have built depends on these neural connections. The more you use a specific connection or a group of connection, the more stronger it becomes, and the lesser you use it, the more weaker it becomes. Make studying an habit. Even if it's just for 1 hour or even 10 minutes or 20 minutes, you can always just gradually raise it after that. But most importantly, make studying a regular habit, something that you do every day. If you just study once in a blue moon, obviously you'll have to struggle a lot to feel motivated. Point number 3, use your environment to boost motivation. This is where I sit to shoot these videos and also chill. This is where I watch movies, YouTube videos, listen to music, etc. If I try to sit and study here, I definitely won't be able to. That's because my mind has been conditioned to think that this is a place where I chill. I have another table in another room that I use solely for studying and watching classes. And when I sit there, that's all I can think about. And this kind of conditioning is very important in hacking motivation. Why? Because if we condition our brains to associate one place with one task, we can actually make use of it when we need it. For example, the task where I lack motivation the most is writing these video scripts. I keep delaying it till it becomes really late, and then I have to force myself to sit and write. To tackle this, I made a small change. I started sitting on this end of the table facing this way whenever I write a script. So now my brain knows that if I'm sitting there, it's time to write a script. And whoa, this has been so miraculously helpful, you have no idea. Previously, I would struggle to write a script that would be like 10 minutes long, but if you have seen all of my recent videos, I wrote such long and detailed scripts that they ended up being like 20-28 minutes long. And that's after intense editing to make it as short as possible. Now I'm keeping an eye on the word count to keep it around 2000 to 2500 words, which comes up to 14-15 minutes on video. Previously, the longer ones, they would have 3,500 to 4,500 words per script. Now, what I mean to say with this example is, that's how effective your environment can be in hacking motivation. In simple words, find one place to sit and study or work and use that place only to study or to work. And just in a few days, if you just go and sit there, your brain will automatically go into the zone of either studying or working. In the same way, being around other people who are also studying will enhance your motivation. This is why many people prefer going to the library to study, and this is also why, study with me videos are so successful. In the current situation, studying in the library may not be a good idea. So play a study with me video and just imagine that someone else is studying with you and sit and study. Because we humans are competitive in nature, when we see someone else doing something, we want us to do it better than them or do it longer than them. So that's another way you can trick your brain to study or work when you are not motivated to do it. And also a very important thing to do is to keep your study environment and importantly your table clean and clutter free. Keep it clean, keep it ready so that you can just sit, open a book and start studying. If you have to first clean yesterday's breadcrumbs or juice bottles before you can, sit and start studying in the morning, that's not gonna give you a great start. Your desk should be clean, organized, and more importantly, it should be welcoming. So clean your desk after you study every day. So the next day when you come to study, you'll come and see a clean, organized, welcoming table. So 3 takeaway messages from this video. First one, motivation is a result of successes. So you should start with small successes, celebrate them, and build on them. That's how you build long-term motivation. Second, motivation and inspiration are like mental muscles. The more you use them and more you build them, the stronger and more efficient they become. Third, having a conducive environment helps optimize the motivation. Having a designated spot for a specific task helps put your mind into the zone right away. Well, that was it. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, consider smashing the living daylights out of the like button. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay awesome.